principles you are using at a given time. So you can see in this image, I have detailed areas right here, right here, right here, and right here. Now, I don't necessarily want all of these detail areas that your eye is being drawn to be important in this image. Because they have detail, they will naturally stand out, and they will have rest area around them that will make them stand out. And I'm okay with that. I just don't want them to be the most important thing in the image. And so, after highlighting essentially the things that I think are important and highlighting the things that I think are not important, I will go in and add my colors so that it will essentially take the detail distribution of the image and now use value and color composition in order to highlight exactly what it is I want. And you can see these are two totally different compositions of the same picture. You can see here we're being drawn very strongly to that one and strongly to that one, almost not at all to that. In this one, you'll notice, we're losing a lot of the high detail areas that we were seeing in that two-value composition, but they're starting to come back elsewhere. You'll notice that color-wise, this whole image is basically the same color except for that one spot. She's not actually that high contrast. If you were to convert this to grayscale, she wouldn't stand out at all. But the color allows her to stand out. Now, one thing that could probably talk an entire speech just about this, an entire lecture just about this, is the idea of rhythm. So I'm just going to talk about it very quickly. The way that rhythm works is even rhythm like this one that you see on the left. Our eyes see that as a single unit. So a pattern or something like that, your brain just kind of groups it all together and says, okay, that's the same. Whether it's a forest, it doesn't even have to be that even. It's just your brain can't help but connect those things together. As soon as you start to break up those distances, break up those proportions, create a big, medium, small hierarchy in there, then it starts to become really interesting. And each one of those little clusters becomes a unit in and of itself that is now separated. And so you can see that this rhythm, which it also has there's a linear component of of rhythm that we are not talking about here. And you can see that we could actually have the curves and the distances, the proportions, all of those things work together to create this kind of pleasing composition across that whole image. And you can see when we add that third value to the same image in two places, one of them creates what was already kind of chaotic and makes it even worse. The other one, just by changing where we're placing those things and thinking about rhythm as we do it, we're actually getting these really nice spaces of high attentional hierarchy and kind of maybe little hot spots of interest that kind of move you around that, but nothing that becomes really as important as that. And it just starts to become, even though it's this very complicated composition, you can start to create some sense, some sort of order out of it. So let's do this now. Now, because we're having problems with Photoshop, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be able to do this. But let's go over to Photoshop again. And I want to show what happens if I can. I don't think that I have the ability to do adjustment layers here. So let's see if I can... All right, I can't do it. All right, so we'll just kind of talk through this image really, really quick. If we are looking at this original image, you'll notice if I had 3 values here, the top value is probably now going to be reserved for these very lightest spots. So those thresholds, as I move those threshold curves around, I'll do it with this one just so you can see. Actually, here's what I can do. Duplicate layer. And then do the same thing here, duplicate layer. It's kind of a funny workaround for how we do this. So I'm linking this layer. I'm holding down Alt and clicking between those two layers so that it's only affecting that layer. And now I'm going to make it so that this top layer is going to affect all of the values, maybe in the broader sense. So where is our middle value going to be here? Now, if I look at the image, I can kind of tell where that's supposed to be. So the middle value in here probably stops about right there. You can kind of see little glimpses of it. So we're essentially creating here 2 graphic compositions, 2 two-value compositions. One that's about right there, and then I'm going to create another one that is now concentrated only towards those lighter values, just those areas where it pops up into that third register. Then we'll take this layer here, and I'm going to turn down that opacity a bit. And now we have something that you can manipulate very easily. I can collapse that back down to a single image and start painting on it. Can't see my cursor on that monitor down there, so we're hiding it up here. So yeah, you can see, hopefully, as we look at this image, there's a couple of problems with this image. So while we made the composition stronger by converting it to a two-value composition, there's still room to improve on it. Now, what would you do if you're trying to control this composition? You'd probably be trying to control the biggest jumps, the things that are basically going from the lightest value down to the middle value. You're also going to be trying to change stuff that has high frequency in it. So for example, we have a lot of like high frequency changes happening back here. Now the high frequency by itself isn't bad. We just have to control it and make sure that it's far enough away from other things that it doesn't cause a problem. So in this case, we have a proximity issue with that broom. We have to push that away a little bit so that the broom can read more clearly. This area down here is probably fine. Even though we're getting a lot of attentional interest down there, it's not a problem because it's far enough away from what is really important in the image that we can get that attention there. Now, if you look at the character's face, I do think that there's a little bit of work there that you could do just to like clarify those forms. I'd also probably clear this space out just a little bit more in order to get this composition working. And I might even drop those teeth down into the middle value so that they stand out against perhaps like a lighter background. I know that's just description because we couldn't get Photoshop working on this, but I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense? Can I get a nod if yes? Do I get any no's? It doesn't make sense? Okay, all right, we'll move on then. All right, so now what I've taught you so far is enough to get an image to this place. Meaning, we could clean up these edges and everything, but basically all that I've taught you so far is just how do you get an image so that compositionally it kind of holds together. But it's not pretty yet, and even if I cleaned up all those edges, it still wouldn't be pretty. And so since this is kind of the next step, we want to be able to now take an image that is a strong composition and make it better. So we are going to do this using the